I always get a lot of young producers ask me how to get their beats to the right hands, how to get them to A&Rs, to artists, and I always stress the importance of putting yourself where the action is. Now, I know you, coming from Zimbabwe, you know 1,000% what that's like. So if you can, just talk a little bit about that and how you were able to make it over here in the music business coming all the way from out there, and any advice you want to give to producers about going where the action is and how important that is.
I think it's very important to be close to the action and going to the right places. So when I first came to America, I lived in New Hampshire. I went to high school in New Hampshire, and there was no music going on in New Hampshire. So when I left high school, first day I moved to Tampa Bay. And in my mind, I was like, as long as I'm closer to Miami, then maybe one day I'll work with Cash Money. And funny enough, my first placement was Lil Wayne No Worries.
And this was
with Cash Money. This is 09. It's 09 I moved to Tampa.
Well, the industry was in Miami at that time. So
so I was a little bit late, but in my mind, I'm like, I know they're still out there. You know, Wayne was still getting hot. Drake was just getting hot. Like, Cash Money was still in Miami. So that's why I went to college in Florida.
Any advice you want to say to like young producers, like once you are where the action is, what do you do to get your music in sessions from A&Rs, or how do you meet the right people to get your records played?
I would say to young producers, the best way to get your records placed would be to try to figure out who the writers are. Because a lot of people don't realize before they get in the industry that there's a lot of people behind the scenes that write the records, produce the records. Look at all the names on the credits. And the names that you don't know, those are the guys behind the scenes really doing things that are really... So if you try to reach out to those guys, and then maybe those guys can get your music in the rooms and find the people that really matter.
So look from an IG, hit them up, try to find out where they're at.
Exactly. But don't spam them, but, hit them up, whatever, send some music through.
So I have to ask, man, how did Drunken Love happen? That was such an amazing song. How did it go from just the beat to actual Beyonce placement?
It's actually, I had that sample a long time ago when I was in college, and then I was trying to loop it. I couldn't get it to loop for the longest time. I was just working on it, flipping it. And then I remember one day I finally got it to loop, and I was messing with it, and we were in Miami at the time. Then I ended up doing the drums and all the stuff around it and all of that. And then when we first met with Big John, who's the CEO now, I think, of Warner Chappell, we played him a lot of our records and stuff like that, and that's one track that we played him that he really loved. And he really loved that song, and when he had heard it, he told me, like, okay, yeah, send this to me. I'm going to try to get this to Beyonce. And at the time, I thought, like, yeah, okay, cool story, man, we'll see what happens. And then I didn't hear anything about it for maybe a year and a half.
So you just forgot about it?
I forgot about it. Well, I didn't forget about it, but I stopped thinking about it because I didn't want to stress myself out. So I stopped thinking about it, and then like maybe a year and a half after, they asked for like files or a couple changes, and I was like, okay. Then I stopped thinking about it again, and then pretty much 2 years from the point that I had made it, the song dropped. I didn't know anything about it, so it came out like it was late at night, and then my friend just came in the room freaking out like Beyonce dropped her album. We went on iTunes. iTunes had crashed, so I didn't know if I was on the album or not.
And you didn't get any paperwork, no heads up, nothing. It was
nothing.
Out.
It was out.
Wow.
But then once it dropped, maybe an hour later, Big John called me and just reminded me, like, I told you I was going to put it on the album, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, he wasn't lying about that.
Wow, you must have been super high. Did you do that in headphones?
I started it in headphones, like I did. I did a lot of stuff in headphones, funny enough, Man.
So it's not about the equipment then, it's definitely about...
It's never about the equipment. If you saw what I was working on when I actually made that beat, you'd be shocked.
Right.
I mean, I pretty much have the same setup now. I have the studio now, but that's not, you know what I mean, how I make the best music.
Wow, that's crazy. Now let me ask you, what's the most common mistake music producers make, or I should say beat makers make, and how can they prevent that?
I would say the most common mistake would be trying to, when you hear a record you like, trying to make that record or make something like that. I would say the most common mistake would be following a trend.
Right.
That, to me, that's what I see a lot, is people make tracks that sound like someone else, something else, and then, because you never truly develop your own sound. So you might get a record, you might catch a record, but you'll never get a crazy run, or you never get a big record.
Now, what is the importance of having a strong team behind you that you can trust, and how do you go about finding this team?
It's very important to have a team, because you can't do everything by yourself. And you need people that complement your weaknesses and all of that. So I think it's really good to have a team. Finding a team is a difficult process. I can't tell you how to do it. Luckily for me, it happened naturally. These are people I went to college with. Basically we grew up together, kind of. Went to college, sleeping in dorms. We weren't hungry together. We went through the trenches together. It just happened naturally, and then by the end of it, like, we were basically a team, and then we ended up moving together like that. So there's no formula for it.
Yeah, I can't lie. I just now got my team on point. It's
Yeah.
not an easy process.
Yeah, it's not.
A friend of mine who goes by Busy Works Beats is always stressing the importance of building a strong brand. Now, I don't know if you know about him, but he gives a lot of young producers knowledge and helping out the producer team. Now, in your experience, how does branding yourself as a business rather than just a beat maker help you achieve greater success as a producer?
I think branding itself really, really, really helps. It makes a difference. I definitely see other producers branding themselves well and being able to continue that going on to other records. Branding itself is basically, it's job security.
Yeah.
Because you can make a hit, and then branding itself means that people are going to come to you for it instead of you having to shop them every time and do all that. Basically, people will buy stuff based on your name.
Right. And even having those records that you've had, I still feel like that's branding yourself in its own way. I'm sure because of that, you've gotten additional placements after all that.
Right.
So, yeah, branding yourself
For
is
sure.
definitely
For sure.
a big thing. Yo, thank you, bro.
Perfect.
All right.
No problem.
Ain't much out there to have feelings for. Guess whose it is? Guess whose it is? Guess whose it is? Guess whose it is? Yours.